Today we're back in New York and lacing up our hiking boots to head upstate to the Finger Lakes region. Here you'll find some of the most beautiful scenery on the East Coast, and we're spending one day to explore 3 of the best state parks. Believe me, you do not want to miss any of these on your trip to New York. Let's jump into it. I spent the previous night in the town of East Aurora and then got up early and drove 45 minutes to our first state park. We made it to our first of 3 parks today, Letchworth State Park, and we drove all the way to the Lower Falls area, and then we're gonna make our way back to Upper Falls. I'm really excited for all the parks today, but this one specifically is called the Grand Canyon of the East, so that should be pretty impressive. 127 steps down to the viewpoint. As far as I know, this is the only overlook in the park that actually has a trail you have to take down to it. Most of them are just walking out and looking at them. With hiking down to the lower falls and then hiking up to the falls viewpoint, I did about 1 mile to 1.25 miles on this trail. Look at all the mist coming up from the falls right there. Wow, that is a beautiful first waterfall. Lower Falls is the first of 3 waterfalls we're seeing in this park, and it's about 70 feet tall and about 300 feet wide. From this viewpoint, you're directly across from it, and while there's a gate that stops you from getting too close, you can still get some great views and you can see how powerful it is. What a good start! That's an amazing waterfall! Heading back up the trail. On the way back, look for a trail off to the right that goes down some stone steps and goes to a stone arch bridge. This bridge was built in 1935 by the Civilian Conservation Corps, and it's one of the most picturesque bridges at the park. Plus, if you have a zoom lens, you can get some great views of Lower Falls out in the distance. Once you make it back up the 127 stairs to the start of the trail, you can turn left and you can go out to an easy viewpoint. If you only have a limited time, this is a much easier way to see the waterfall than hiking all the way down to it. Backtracking towards the entrance, we saw what I believe was a fox along the side of the road and then headed to Inspiration Point. Wow, check out this view from Inspiration Point. Look at that, the falls and the bridge. That is so cool. Inspiration Point is definitely one of the best views in the park and really helps you to understand why it's called the Grand Canyon of the East. There are more overviews on the way back, but we continued on Park Road and then took the one-way offshoot to go to Upper Falls. I'm here on a Friday morning in June and there's literally no one here with me. So in order to get to Upper and Middle Falls, you actually have to go down this one-way road, which is right past the inn. So I'm heading to Upper Falls first, then to Middle Falls and back around. Prior to going on this trip, I had never even heard of this park or seen this view before. Wow. Man, this park is amazing. To me, it's an incredibly iconic East Coast view, and I can't believe I had never heard of it. Can you even believe it? That is unreal. While it seems a lot bigger, this is actually only a 70-foot tall waterfall. Pairing it with the canyon and the bridge above, it's just one of those things I was blown away by. There's a hiking trail here that'll actually take you all the way up to below the bridge. There's even a parking lot there that I didn't know about until I was leaving the park. For me though, I just kept going to a couple more viewpoints as I had a lot to accomplish today. There's the original viewpoint that we were at down there, and now we're all the way up here. All right, now we're heading on to Middle Falls. I have no idea how anything could be better than that though. To get to Middle Falls, you can hike along the rim or you can just drive to another parking area. Here's what I believe is Middle Falls. Because of the one-way road, Middle Falls is unique as you actually start basically right on top of it, and then you can continue to walk down the trail if you want different views. It's a good top-down view, but I'm gonna walk the trail because I think the better view will be over there. From what I read online, Middle Falls is the tallest of the 3, standing at over 100 feet tall. It was definitely the one that you could feel the power of the falls the best at as well, since you were much closer and you were basically bathed in the mist. Rustic stone staircase, proceed with caution. You will definitely get wet from the mist as well. You definitely do not want to miss taking the stairs down to the head-on viewpoint for this waterfall. It's incredible to see, and basically any of these 3 waterfalls would have been worth the trip on their own, but to see all 3 of them in one state park is just something I wouldn't have imagined I'd see in upstate New York. Well, this park was officially incredible. I'm sure I could spend the entire day here, but I only have one day in this region, so we're heading on to the next park. Saying goodbye to Letchworth, it was about an hour and a half drive to our next state park, Watkins Glen. Park number 2, Watkins Glen State Park. This is one I have wanted to do for a long time. I'm so excited. Might rain though. Also, it's kind of late in the day for me on a Friday, and I asked the lady how busy it was when I checked in, and she said, you may think it's busy, but it's not busy. So I guess that's a good sign. So I think you can technically start from down there, but I followed my directions, so I'm up here and I'm gonna take the staircase down. If you do this trail, it's probably better to head up from the base, but I had no idea what I was doing and I just followed my GPS. It led me to this entrance and to this staircase, which dropped about 215 feet into the gorge below. All right, I backtracked to where the tunnel is, and so I could see everything. I'm starting on Sentry Bridge right now. The gorge is the main attraction in this park, but of course waterfalls are what amplify the beauty. Along the 1.25 mile trail to get all the way to the top, you have about 800 steps that you have to climb, and you'll pass 19 waterfalls. You guys, upstate New York is next level. Look at this canyon I'm heading into right now. While you were technically in the gorge before, as soon as you enter this narrow portion and start to see the shadows playing on the wall, you'll see the first of the hike's main waterfalls, and this one you can go completely behind. Known as the Cavern Cascade, it's the perfect introduction to the trail, and it's also the perfect introduction into how busy this trail can get. I mean, I can see why it's so busy. It's one of the most beautiful trails I've ever done in my life, but note that you won't be alone and that the trail is about the size of a sidewalk. So at some of the most picturesque waterfalls, you'll have to squeeze by people in order to continue on or to even try to get your shot. I'm only halfway in, and this may be the best short trail I've ever done in my life. Blowing my mind right now. Also note that the trail is generally quite muddy, so bring shoes that you're okay getting dirty. It's so cool that the trail just heads in and out of these little caves in order to continue up. Do note though, there are a lot of stairs. You're basically going upstairs most of the trail. This next section is about a half mile, and it has beautiful gorge scenery as you're walking on a trail that's elevated above Glen Creek below you. You can see lots of tiny waterfalls in this section before you eventually bend around and see Central Cascade out in the distance. It's known as Central Cascade because it's basically the midpoint on the trail, and this is the highest waterfall in the gorge, falling about 60 feet. After crossing the bridge over Central Cascade, you'll walk for a little bit longer past pools and small waterfalls before you get to the most iconic spot of this entire hike. Known as Rainbow Falls, this gently cascading waterfall goes directly over the trail, and it's framed by another waterfall on the right and a bridge. I'm guessing that most of you have seen a picture of this online at some point before. After spending about 20 minutes taking pictures, I eventually made my way behind the waterfall. This is the main reason I wanted to come here, and I have to say that the pictures don't do justice to how beautiful it is to see in real life. I waited for about 15 minutes. I got really lucky. There was a break in people so I could get some shots without anybody in it. And then like 40 people came after that, so perfect timing. This is called Frowning Cliff. Looks like I'm going into something from the Lord of the Rings. Frowning Cliff is one of the most narrow parts of the gorge, and so it doesn't see a lot of sunlight and doesn't have a lot of plant growth, which is where it got its name. As you can no doubt tell, this trail just continues to be stunning as you continue making your way back. Unfortunately for us though, it started to rain pretty hard, and every time we got out from under a ledge, we got pretty wet. All right, we made it to the turnaround point right at a mile. Gonna head back. One of the best trails I've ever done in my life. I don't even have words for it, it's so beautiful. Even with the rain, I couldn't help but take my time on the way back, soaking in the views from a different angle. Eventually though, I made it back to my car and I started the 35-minute drive to our last state park. Alright, we made it to our third stop of the day, Taughannock State Park. Taughannock Falls State Park is named for the impressive waterfall that sits right in its center. You can easily see it from the falls overlook, which is only about a 2-minute walk and lets you look down on the 215-foot waterfall. That's the highest single drop waterfall east of the Rocky Mountains. What really made it impressive to me from this angle was the massive amphitheater that the waterfall drops into. Alright, now we're gonna head down to the base and then walk all the way out to the falls to finish the video. So here's where we were at the falls overlook, and we drove down here, and now we're gonna start this trail which goes all the way out. This trail is about 1.5 miles round trip, and they said it should take about 45 minutes to complete. The trail out to the falls is really nice as it's relatively flat the entire way, and there are a couple small waterfalls that you can see on your way out. This is already a beautiful trail. There's a waterfall right there, and then there's like a small cascade up here as well. It's also shaded for most of it, and there are lots of opportunities to walk down to the water. I don't know if the water level is always this low, but it's really cool to see all the families out there playing, throwing rocks, just enjoying the shallow water on the way to the falls. This area used to be privately owned, and it was popular for tourism to visit the waterfall in the early 1900s. In 1925, tourism dried up and New York State bought the land to turn it into the park. We have made it to the bridge. You can start to see the waterfall poking in from right there. Wow, you really get a good scale for how big it is when you're down here. After you cross the bridge, you'll walk the stone path all the way to the end of the trail, which is right in the middle of the massive amphitheater. While it is a long hike for some, it's great to be able to get a view from this viewpoint so you can truly experience how massive it is. I don't know, that's a pretty good way to end the day. Not bad. I spent about 20 minutes just having a snack and taking in the views before I started the walk back to the car. And with that, our day exploring upstate New York is done. I will be back to this area. Incredible, and I'd love to spend more time at every one of these parks. Let me know what else I should check out in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one.